It is actually an offshoot of a book, or now it's like a series of 4 books that I've been writing, or that I've been channeling for about 20 years. And it's a system called Integrated Conscious Enlightenment that has been channeled through me, that is a way of understanding human nature. It talks about 12 levels of consciousness that humans are capable of achieving. And most people get to about halfway and quit, and then the other levels, we call them higher levels of consciousness. They are more difficult because in our culture we're kind of boxed into the first 6 levels. But I'm defining, trying to do justice to this information that I keep getting. And the first levels, like the first level is the 0 level, which is representing your spirit before you were a physical being. And then the 1 is when you're you've decided to become a physical being, and you choose a family, and you start to create your physical body inside your mother's body. And I'm serious, that's not a misnomer when I say that. I say because I believe that your consciousness chooses what nutrients that you need to absorb inside your mother's womb, long before you came out and had the choice. I believe that your consciousness decides what color you are, what color hair you have, what sex you are, what body type you are, what kind of, well, even before that, I believe you chose your family. So I believe your consciousness is very alive and very connected with the process. And then the 2, okay, the 1 is after you get out of your mother's womb. And then the 2 is when do you have tiny children?
A 2.5-year-old daughter, yes.
All right, remember when your children were really, really small and they couldn't negotiate, their hands were all over the place. But then they got to the place where they would grab a hold of your face or pull your hair, try to take your eyeball out, and they were getting to know you. And then everything that they found, they tried to put in their mouth to really get to know it, right?
Of course.
Okay, that's the 2 vibration, where you're getting to know your environment and you're learning about things. And then the 3 vibration is what you learned when you were exploring people and things. And you start to say, okay, Mommy doesn't like it when I try to pull her lip off. So you pat her cheek gently the way she should. So you develop a pattern of relating to your mother's face. And so the 3 vibration is the patterns of relating. And while I was writing about that, I thought, well, what is the worst pattern of relating that human beings seem to have? And I was doing all kinds of counseling with people who were really hurting. And I thought, well, it seems to be that it's the addictions that we have to being a certain way. So the patterns of relating, the 3 vibration, is out of whack. So that they're doing things in their life that is making their life not work well. So we call them dysfunctional patterns of relating, because if they were functioning properly, then they would be working. So I started writing, and because of my background as a reality therapist, I worked with the Addiction Research Foundation in St. Catharines as a reality therapist. Then I knew all about addictions to drugs and alcohol and gambling and all the really bad stuff. But then I started to realize that we have a lot of other things that are just as detrimental to our well-being that get in the way of our lives, such as the addiction to the approval of others. So if you give away our life to somebody else and we only live for pleasing other people, then who are we as individuals? We're pretty empty. And so every pattern of relating, and I ended up with 30 patterns of relating rather than just drugs, alcohol, and gambling. It's like all of these other patterns of relating. So I started writing around that. And I started to pull it together in terms of why that happens. And I came back to the VPR triangle, the victim, persecutor, rescuer triangle. And it seemed like that was the worst pattern of relating that I could find. And it took on a life of its own. It wouldn't leave me alone. I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and write for hours because it was so pressing on me. This is what needs to get out there. And I became kind of obsessed with getting it out there. And then I realized a lot of the other stuff that I had written as handouts for classes and stuff really fit into the overall package. Because once you realize that you've got some bad patterns of relating, then how do you fix it? How do you change that? So then I started pulling in all of these other things that I'd written about what to do to bring your life back into balance. And it kind of became like 2 sections of the book. In fact, this time when I'm editing and changing the format, I've basically set it's book 1 and book 2, kind of 2 distinct parts, which wasn't in this one. But it's all, when I talk to people about the book, I often say, you might want to use 2 bookmarks because the first half of the book is pretty heavy. And so if you get bogged down there, then go to the second half of the book and read something of how to make your life lighter and brighter and positive changes that you can make to make your life work. And I've had amazing blessing that people have told me how much it's helped them. So this time when I write it, I'm 6 years older, and my writing has improved slightly, I hope. And I'm thrilled that it's going to get out in an revised, edited manner. And I'm looking forward to seeing the second edition.
When will that be released?
Well, if I get it to the publisher, I have, I would imagine, about 10 days more final edit before I actually sent it as a final work, but hopefully before the end of April. If that happens, then hopefully it'll be out before the end of June.
Fantastic. And where can people purchase it?
Well, then they can purchase it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, Chapters in Canada. But now the only place that they can purchase it online that I know of is on my website, which is wholenessplace.com. But there are a number of different places in the Hamilton area that carry it, the Chapters in Ancaster used to have it. I'm not sure that they have any more. I haven't checked with them lately. The Hive on Ottawa Street, White Flame, and several places in Toronto. But if people email me, I can connect them with something in their area. which is my email address is Tashene@wholenessplants.com.
Okay, great.